Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today we're going to take you back to 1947 Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 1947 Los Angeles,
Post-war.
post-war. The case we're talking about is, well, it's been called one of America's most infamous unsolved mysteries, the Black Dahlia murder.
Ooh, spooky.
So for this deep dive, we're going to be pulling from an episode of the podcast 48 Classics. It's called the Black Dahlia Mystery.
Okay.
And by the end, you'll know why this case still haunts us all these years later. It's a story of ambition, shattered dreams, and the dark underbelly of Hollywood's golden age. You ready for this one?
Oh, I'm ready. I love this case.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. Yeah. So picture this, right? It's January 1947. World War II is over, and Los Angeles is bursting with this kind of like electric energy.
Oh, yeah.
Like people are excited. They're ready for like a new era.
Yeah, yeah. A new world.
Yeah, new world. Exactly.
Yeah.
But then January 15th, that energy just turns ice cold. Yeah. So that's the day a gruesome discovery was made in a vacant lot. The body of 22-year-old Elizabeth Short.
This is it. The Black Dahlia.
That's right, the Black Dahlia. And when I say gruesome, I mean this wasn't like your average crime scene. Like this was...
It was really bad.
It was really bad. Her body was posed.
It was like cut in half.
Yeah, meticulously bisected, like almost surgically.
Drained of all her blood.
Drained of all blood. I mean, just crazy. Like something out of a horror movie, really.
Yeah.
And it was a level of brutality that sent shockwaves through the city, obviously. I mean, even back then, I mean, murders happened. But
Right, but nothing like this.
yeah, nothing quite like this.
This is very calculated.
Very calculated.
Yeah.
And obviously it grabs the public's attention, in part because of the brutality, obviously, but also just the mystery surrounding Elizabeth Short herself.
Right. Who was she?
Right. I mean, she was a young woman who, like so many others, came to Hollywood with these dreams of stardom.
Oh, yeah. That was the thing back then, right? Everybody wanted to be a star.
Yeah, right. But her story ends tragically. Intertwined with this horrific crime.
Yeah.
It's almost...
It's sad, really.
It is sad. It's
Yeah,
like...
well, she had so much potential.
Yeah.
You know, and now she's just known as the victim.
Exactly. Exactly. Her aspirations have become almost a footnote in the whole thing.
Right.
Almost everybody knows the name Black Dahlia, but how many people actually know anything about Elizabeth Short as a person?
You know, it's true.
But speaking of names, there is one name in particular you really can't ignore when discussing this case.
Okay, who's that?
Steve Hodel.
Steve Hodel.
So Steve was a former LAPD homicide detective.
Wow.
So he spent years trying to solve this case.
Okay.
Came up with a theory that, well, let's just say it's a doozy.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
All right. So Steve became convinced that his own father,
What?
Dr. George Hodel,
His own father.
was the Black Dahlia killer.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So Dr. George Hodel was a prominent surgeon in Los Angeles at the time.
I mean, I'd be messed up if I found that out about my dad.
Yeah. Imagine just stumbling onto something like that about your own family, right? I mean, and it's not like it was some random hunch. I mean, he had what he considered to be a pretty compelling aha moment. You know, like this is what led him down this path.
Okay. What tipped him off?
So it all started with a photograph.
The photograph.
Well, a collection of photographs,
Yeah.
actually, that Steve found among his deceased father's belongings. And the photos depicted this dark-haired woman who Steve became convinced was Elizabeth Short.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So just hold on a sec, though, right?
Okay.
Because I know, some folks listening might not be familiar with all the details here. So before we go too deep into Steve's theory,
Right.
maybe we should back up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Paint a picture of Dr. George Hodel, right? I mean, he wasn't just some random physician.
Right.
I mean, he was
kind of a big deal.
he was very successful.
Right.
Very successful surgeon, had a prestigious practice, opulent home. Oh, yeah. It was described as resembling a Mayan temple.
What?
I know, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then on top of that, there were all these rumors swirling around him about these wild parties,
Oh, yeah.
like attended by artists and movie stars. And, maybe these parties went far beyond your typical Hollywood gatherings.
I bet.
If you know what I'm saying. So we've got this successful, charismatic doctor,
Okay.
luxurious lifestyle, possible taste for the extravagant,
Okay.
maybe even the macabre, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
But then, as you mentioned earlier, there's this whole other side to the story.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. there's this darkness
Okay.
surrounding his family life.
Oh.
So Steve's half-sister, Tamar,
Okay.
has alleged that Dr. Hodel was involved in some incredibly disturbing activities,
Like what?
including, sexual abuse,
Oh, no.
potentially even involving his own children.
Wow.
And these allegations were so serious that it actually led to a highly publicized incest trial in 1949.
Oh, my gosh.
So here's where things start to get really interesting, right?
Okay.
We've got this high-profile doctor whispers of these scandalous parties.
Yeah. Now allegations of abuse within his own family.
Mhm.
I mean, this isn't just a whodunit anymore.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel like a psychological thriller, right?
Yeah, totally.
It certainly adds a layer of complexity
Yeah.
to the whole thing. And it's important to note that while Dr. Hodel was actually acquitted in that trial,
Oh, he was?
yeah, he was.
Wow.
It did put him on the radar of the police who were already investigating the Black Dahlia case, right?
Okay.
So they started to see these potential connections between Dr. Hodel's alleged behavior and the brutality of the crime.
That makes sense.
So it's a pretty significant turn of events.
Yeah.
Now the police are looking at this doctor who seems to have this dark side,
Right.
and they're trying to connect him to this horrific murder. But where's the hard evidence?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Where's the proof?
Right. I mean, that's the big question.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to tie him to it?
That's what we need to figure out.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Well, for one, there's the handwriting analysis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Steve, he actually found samples of his father's handwriting
Okay.
and had them compared to the handwriting in several taunting notes and letters believed to have been sent by the killer.
Oh, wow.
So the analysis suggested a strong similarity between the two.
Interesting. So we've got possible handwriting matches.
Uh-huh.
What else?
Then there's this photograph taken by Man Ray.
Man Ray.
Yeah, he was a surrealist artist, and he happened to be a close friend of Dr. Hodel.
There.
And the photograph depicts this nude model in a pose that is eerily similar to the way Elizabeth Short's body was found.
Wait, are you saying that the killer might have posed the victim based on a photograph?
It's possible.
That's disturbing.
It is. And for Steve, this was a major piece of the puzzle. He believes that the Man Ray photo could have served as a kind of artistic inspiration for the crime.
Yeah, that's chilling. You know, earlier we talked about how Elizabeth Short was often called the Black Dahlia. And for those who might not know, this wasn't a name she used while she was alive.
Right.
It seems like it was a nickname given to her by the press after her death.
Yeah.
Possibly inspired by a film noir movie that was popular around that time.
I think that's right. The Blue Dahlia.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the media, they really latched onto the case. And the nickname Black Dahlia, it just became synonymous with the mystery and intrigue surrounding it.
It's such a catchy name, too. It's
is.
dark, it's mysterious, it fits the whole vibe of the case.
It really does. And speaking of media attention, there's another piece of evidence that really grabbed headlines.
Yeah.
Secret wiretap recordings from 1950.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about these.
So fill us in. What exactly was on those tapes?
Well, the police had actually been investigating Dr. Hodel for a separate matter, and they had placed listening devices in his home. And on one of those recordings, Dr. Hodel is heard saying something to the effect of, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia, they couldn't prove it now."
Okay, that's pretty incriminating, to say the least.
I mean,
Right? I mean, why would an innocent man even utter those words?
that's what I'm saying.
It's a statement that is very difficult to explain away.
Yeah.
And it certainly fueled the suspicions surrounding Dr. Hodel.
Oh, for sure.
So we've got the handwriting analysis. We've got a possible link to a surrealist photograph.
Yeah.
And we've got this recorded statement that sounds a lot like a confession.
Right.
So what happened next?
Yeah. What did the police do?
Did they arrest Dr. Hodel?
I mean, it seems like they have enough to go on.
It does, right?
Yeah.
This is where the possibility of a cover-up comes into play.
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah. So the district attorney's office had been building a case against Dr. Hodel.
Okay.
But they abruptly dropped the investigation.
They just dropped it.
Without a clear explanation.
That's weird.
Yeah, and to make things even more suspicious, the LAPD later admitted that crucial physical evidence from the case, including Elizabeth Short's clothing and personal effects, had disappeared from their files.
Hold on. They lost key evidence.
Yeah.
In one of the most high-profile murder cases in history. Come on, that's fishy.
It does sound a little fishy.
More than a little.
So some people believe that someone, possibly someone with influence, might have intervened to protect Dr. Hodel.
Interesting.
So are we talking about potential police corruption here?
I mean, it's possible, right?
It's certainly a theory that some people subscribe to.
Yeah, especially given Dr. Hodel's social standing and the rumors about his connections to powerful figures in Los Angeles.
Okay, so Steve's theory is starting to sound pretty convincing.
It is.
But before we jump to any conclusions, I think it's important to hear from other voices, other perspectives on this case, right? I mean, Steve's not the only one who's looked into the Black Dahlia murder.
Yeah, that's true. This case has attracted a lot of attention over the years from both professional investigators.
Right. And amateur sleuths alike.
Yeah, this is like a true crime, huge move.
Yeah, everyone wants to solve it.
Exactly. And not everyone agrees with Steve Hodel's theory.
Well, that's good. I want to hear what they have to say.
Okay, let's hear some of those dissenting opinions.
All right, so for starters, there's Elizabeth Short's childhood friend.
Okay.
Who believes that Steve's theory is built on speculation and coincidence.
I mean, that's understandable.
Yeah.
Someone close to Elizabeth might be skeptical of a theory that points the finger at someone they never knew or interacted with.
Yeah, I get it.
You know? And remember those photographs that Steve found?
The ones he thinks are Elizabeth Short?
Yes, the ones he believes are of Elizabeth Short.
Yeah.
Well, a forensic artist who used facial recognition software analyzed those photographs and concluded that it's unlikely the woman in those photos is actually Elizabeth.
Oh, wow. So that seemingly crucial piece of evidence that launched Steve's entire investigation is now being called into question. Exactly. And that's why it's so important to consider multiple perspectives.
Right.
And analyze all the evidence carefully.
Absolutely.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle with pieces that don't quite fit together.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and remember, we're dealing with a case that's over 70 years old.
I know.
Memories fade, witnesses pass away, and evidence can be lost or misinterpreted.
It happens all the time.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's amazing how, even with all the advances we've made in forensic science and technology, some cases just refuse to be neatly solved.
I know. It's frustrating.
It is. But you know, as we're digging into all these theories and evidence, I keep thinking about Elizabeth Short.
Right.
The woman at the heart of all this. It's easy to get caught up in the mystery and the investigation.
Yeah.
But we can't forget that a young woman lost her life.
That's so true. And sometimes with these big cases, the victim gets lost in the shuffle.
Exactly. The Black Dahlia case, like so many other high-profile crimes, can sometimes feel like a puzzle to be solved or a story to be dissected.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that there were real people involved, real lives impacted by this tragedy.
Absolutely.
I mean, Elizabeth Short had a family. She had friends, aspirations.
Yeah, she was a person.
She wasn't just a victim. She was a person with hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And those dreams were brutally cut short.
Yeah, it really puts things into perspective. It's a reminder that beneath all the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, there's this darker side.
Oh, absolutely.
This vulnerability that especially impacted, I think, young women trying to navigate that world during that era.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Black Dahlia case, I think, almost became a symbol of that vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
This cautionary tale that's been told and retold in countless books, movies, TV shows over the years.
I mean, even today.
Even today.
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating to me how this case has just seeped into popular culture. Like, there was a big budget film adaptation.
I remember that.
Starring, I mean, some pretty A-list actors, right?
Oh, yeah, it was a huge deal. What is it about the Black Dahlia that keeps us so captivated, even after all this time?
I think it's the perfect storm of elements. You have the brutality of the crime itself.
Yeah.
The mystery surrounding Elizabeth Short's life and death. And then the backdrop of Hollywood in its golden age, a place already brimming with secrets and scandals.
Yeah, and you throw in, you know, the possibility of a cover-up, powerful figures potentially shielding the killer from justice.
Oh, yeah, that always adds another layer.
It's a recipe for a story that just won't die.
It just grabs you.
It really does. It's like a puzzle where we have most of the pieces, but some crucial ones are missing.
Yeah.
And we may never find them.
And that's what keeps us coming back for more.
It fuels our imagination. It keeps us searching for answers.
Totally.
It's almost like the lack of a definitive ending gives the story this life of its own right. Allows it to evolve and take on new meanings over time.
Yeah, it becomes almost like a legend.
We keep hoping that maybe someday new evidence will surface, or someone will come forward with a confession and give us the closure that I think we crave.
Oh, I know. We always want that resolution. We do, don't we?
Yeah.
It's human nature.
It is human nature. It's certainly possible. Cold cases have been solved decades later, sometimes with the help of advances in DNA technology or simply, like you said, a stroke of luck.
Yeah, you never know.
But even if the Black Dahlia case remains officially unsolved, I think there's still value in exploring it,
Oh, absolutely.
examining the evidence and the various
I
theories.
think it's important to keep these stories alive, to
Yeah,
learn from them.
I agree. It's not just about finding the killer. It's about understanding the broader context,
Hmm.
the social dynamics of the time, the psychology of those involved.
Right. It's about more than just a name.
Yeah. And maybe, in a way, that's a more satisfying answer than simply putting a name to the crime.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what are your final thoughts on all of this?
Okay, let me think.
Does any particular theory stand out to you?
I don't think I can say for certain who committed the Black Dahlia murder. I just don't think we have enough
Yeah.
to go on. But I think what I find most intriguing is the way this case reveals so much about human nature,
Mm-hmm.
about the dark side of ambition, the allure of fame, and the length some people will go to protect their secrets.
It makes you think about the countless other stories out there,
Mm-hmm.
the unsolved mysteries that continue to haunt us, each one a reminder that sometimes the truth remains elusive.
But even in the absence of clear-cut answers,
Yeah.
there's still a lot we can learn from these cases.
I agree.
They challenge us to think critically,
Mhm.
to question assumptions, and to never stop seeking knowledge, even when the answers are difficult to find.
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. So to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Black Dahlia murder.
Thanks, everyone.
We hope it sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to do a little digging of your own.
Yeah, do some research.
And remember, sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones that leave us with more questions than answers.
Until next time.